and welcome to the Snap Revise YouTube channel. I'm Amy, and in this video we're going to go over our 4 top tips for revising A-level biology. A-level biology is the most popular A-level science, and with good reason. It's super interesting, it gives you lots of skills that you can apply to other science subjects as well as to your degree if you go on to do a degree, but it also gives you life skills, I think. It gives you an understanding and an appreciation of the natural world around you. And I'm all for that. I actually did a bioscience degree at university, and a lot of what I learned in my A-levels really benefited me throughout my degree. So I would definitely recommend that anybody who's thinking about taking it, takes it. The subject is humongous. There's so much content that you need to get through. It can seem quite overwhelming at the start of the year. If you're flicking through your specification, having a look at what you're going to be studying, you need to make sure that you're staying on top of that and applying your learning in a way that helps you remember it. That said, this video is going to go over 4 tips to help you do just that. First and foremost, I am going to recommend that you know and understand your specification. This is where all of your course content is, and it's available on the internet. I'm sure your teacher might even give it to you at the start of the year. I know mine did, and I kind of worked my way through it as we went along in the lessons. So knowing and understanding how to use your specification is key for any A-level science, but particularly biology. Now with the specification in particular, you will see that there's a section that says students should be able to. This is a very important part to pay attention to because it shows you exactly where the skills are that you will be expected to bring up again in the exam. You'll also see in the specification that there will be details of the practicals you need to know and which bits of the practical you need to make sure you understand and can repeat if necessary in an exam. There are practical handbooks actually that come with the specifications, so you can download those and use them as you use the specification. So the next piece of advice is to know your mark scheme. Now this is kind of the same as doing past papers, and that's something that you see recommended a lot. Active recall can be practiced by doing exam questions, and exam questions help you to become familiar with the mark scheme. While you're doing these past paper questions and using the mark scheme to obviously mark yourself, pay attention to what the mark scheme is asking for specifically. You will notice that in a lot of the longer questions they ask for a specific type of language to be used. Not only that, but there are key terms that you may need to use that will get you a mark. There's nothing worse than having a 5 or 6 mark question and you miss that final mark just because you've not used the terminology correctly or you've not included the correct terminology. So make sure you're using your mark scheme to look at what words are relevant to which topic. My next piece of advice for you kind of links to mark schemes, but it's about linking concepts across your whole specification. This is something that will come up in mark schemes, especially for the longer questions, so the 25 markers. You will see something called a holistic level of answer. So in the mark scheme, like I said, you'll get to grips with the levels of response that the exam board looks for. It kind of splits it up depending on the quality of your answer, how well you've articulated your response, and how well you have recalled like the key concepts. When it comes to recalling key concepts, you should also be able to link them to other parts of the specification that are relevant to the question you're answering. You're viewing the whole subject of biology as an overall entity that links in some way, which biology does in the natural world. Lots of things link to each other, and in your specification it's really easy to draw these links. What I'd recommend is drawing out a big mind map with each of your modules and sort of the subtopics within the modules laid out, and then drawing links between these to kind of get a picture in your head of which bits link. You find a way of drawing them together by using wider reading or by looking at textbooks, because there's always an example in textbooks or in your revision material. Snap Revise has some excellent stuff. You can firm up those links in your head, and it's something I really wish I did when I was doing my A-levels. It also benefits you when you come to university, which links to my next piece of advice. Wider reading. This is something that I really wish I did when I was at A-levels. Wider reading helps you to explore your own niche interest, find out what you find particularly interesting about biology. Of course, if you go on to do a bioscience at university, you will have to do wider reading. It's kind of compulsory once you get to university, and it benefits you massively in developing yourself as a bioscientist. Now, when you're doing wider reading, what you need to do is perform something called critical analysis. Critical analysis of anything is a really good skill to learn. For example, news stories, if you can critically analyse news stories by talking about the validity of the author, where the information was sourced, what they found, what it means, its implications, that's a really good skill to have just in life in general. Your school might have access to things like JSTOR, Google Scholar, other forms of wider reading. Of course, you don't have to just read. You could watch documentaries, you could listen to podcasts, and read the news. There's lots of sources of information, not just in academic journals. So there they are, our 4 tips for studying A-level biology. I hope these tips help, I really do. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions or comments about this video, and if you have any ideas for future videos that you'd like to see from the Snap Revise channel. Thank you!